Hey babe, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm great. So, we've been talking about music a lot lately, and there's a lot of YouTube videos out there that talk about the new school guys, the old school guys. What do they call them? Old heads? The older guys that are
Yeah,
kind of in the
yeah.
industry.
They consider I would be considered an old head.
And that's
Uh,
like what, 40 plus?
I think they consider like 35 on the young end of it.
Okay.
Me being 62, puts me on like the far end of being like an old head or unk, official unk.
But the young guys, they feel like they know everything or
I
about
think
some things.
they know a lot of things. I think they know a lot about their particular era of music. I think there's a disconnect. There's a big disconnect in different eras of music and age groups of musicians and producers, beat makers, songwriters. Uh,
And I think that's what I noticed the most,
mm-hmm.
because I've been around you for like 40 years, and I've I I know some of the terms,
Yeah,
but what I find is the big difference, and you can expound on this, is the terminology. So, the younger guys talk about making beats, but there's a different, for you it's making music, but they're two different things. They think they're the same, but they're not. The second thing is that I don't hear any younger people talking about the music business, like publishing and leasing and stuff like that. So
yeah, yeah.
so what do you
Uh,
think about the whole beat versus making music terminology?
I think it has a lot to do with I guess the particular age, a generational type of thing. I think for me, I was connected a lot more to jazz music, R&B. So the music that I grew up with, there were songwriters and there were producers. And producers weren't necessarily the songwriters, and songwriters weren't like really the producers. You had performers, you had songwriters, and all these things would come together. And I think that was part of the thing that made music so great. Like when people look back at older music and they say, "Oh, music is so great back in the day," and blah blah blah. Well, because it involved so many different people. You had people that would do the choreography. You had people that were arrangers. You like somebody could write a great song, but it needed to be arranged the proper way, whether it be strings or the harmonies had to be laid out correctly for the lead singer, so on and so forth. You had all of these different elements coming together from these different people, and these different elements were well thought out elements by individuals, and then they would come together. And that's like what made Quincy Jones such a he wasn't the only fantastic producer. I want to say I think he's a great producer, one of the best. But there were many others as well. And I'm not going to get into that because that's very subjective whenever you talk about stuff like that. But Quincy knew how to get the right type of bass player or the right type of guitar player for a particular solo or the particular chords or the rhythm guitar or this particular drummer because he had a heavy foot or this guy was really good, on the fields and different stuff. Like all of these different things were things that Quincy could put together in his head. So today's musicians and producers are able to basically you have software where you're able to have access to this particular keyboard, that particular drum sounding machine, or this particular drum rhythm pattern that are already pre-laid out for you, whether it's a sample, whether it's a MIDI pack, however, if you sample it, so on and so forth. So you have a situation where what is easy for you to get today in accessing all those things, back in the day, it was a human being that had to figure it out. It was like Quincy had to figure out, like, if you take, for example, like We Are the World, that whole project, you know, I think they have a Netflix special on it, which I highly recommend that people go and watch because you will find out so many things about that song that will probably just blow your mind. But if you look at it, when they had to lay it out, they had to think about all of those different parts that all those different people sung and how they would all fit together in harmony and in the feeling of the song. And the parts had to fit the person the way that they would sing, their style of singing. So Quincy was able to do all that kind of stuff. Fast forward to today, an individual is able to do a lot of that on their own, depending on what type of software you're using, whether you're using whatever your digital audio workstation is, uh, whether you're in a particular genre of music.
So,
Uh,
do you consider those people to be musicians,
I
though,
do, I do,
even though they don't play an
I
instrument?
do, I do. I personally feel anybody that can take two sticks and rub them together or something like that, you can be artistically, musically, you know.
Okay.
So there's some people that don't feel that. They like, they don't have respect for like some kids today. Some of the younger people that say, "Well, I make beats." Because when somebody say they make beats, it's like, "Well, is it a song?" Well, I make beats. So, to me, making beats is not necessarily making a song.
Because a song has a beginning, middle, and end. They're
Yeah,
both music,
yeah,
but one is a song and one is a beat
yes,
that could be a song.
yes. And I think that a song usually there's a concept to it, whereas a beat is just it's a groundwork foundation of something that can be placed with it or put on top of it. Somebody can rap over it, somebody can sing over it, something like that. That's what a beat is to me, because like I said, music is subjective. So I just feel that you know there are people still that write songs, but right now the populace says, "Oh, I make beats. I'm a beat producer, or I'm an internet beat producer." You know, and that's just the times. Things change. Now you have like AI coming in, people freaking out about that, which I don't think it's anything to really freak out about because there's always something that's being done in music that's innovative.
Yeah.
Like when they first came out with the first drum machine, I'm sure it was a lot of drummers didn't like the thought of that,
Yeah.
of being replaced by a drum machine.
Right.
You know, uh, String sections did not like the fact that you was able to synthesize strings and now that you didn't have to hire a string quartet to lay out an arrangement. Um, the list goes on and on. Examples go on and on about things changing. So innovation and disruption is always going to happen. I just feel that if you're doing something that's original and if it's something, then it's going to be something. If it's just something that's just you creating something, like a lot of people, I don't know. I guess some people, I don't want to be negative and say, got something in my eye. I don't want to be one to say that people should not be creative and create beats and put music together and put your music out to the world. I just caution people about doing that, like just getting online and just putting your music out there because uh, technically, somebody can hear a piece of music that you're doing, and if you're not putting enough structure to it, I can just come along and I can just take it
And add more structure and make it your own.
and make it my own, and there's nothing you can do about it because you didn't have a structural foundation to that to begin with. So because you didn't even have a melody line to it and this and that, you just put the whole bass line and the chords there and you didn't put a melody line to it. I can just listen to it and I can just turn around on my keyboard. Hey, that's a good idea. I can just play it and then you'll hear it and you'll be like, hey, you stole my stuff.
But they don't have a legal recourse.
No. Because even if they went back and showed where they did like a YouTube video, well, I'm gonna show you the YouTube video where I laid this beat and rhythm out. Of course, what? Look, you know how many blues songs there are that are based on the same 12-bar blues structure?
And that is actually the foundation of what makes it blues, is that they don't have to,
Yes.
but if you use that structure, that's what makes it a blues
That's
song.
what makes it the blues song. And then the only thing that changes it is your melody line.
Yeah.
Or the structure of it. So, I mean, people are taking a high risk when they do that. When they put their stuff out there, they just, I'm gonna just get on the internet and I'm gonna just make beats. I don't think I wouldn't recommend anybody do that. I recommend you can get on there and do things and display your talents, but be conscious of what you're doing and make sure you're not giving away some of who you are, because your music is who you are.
But I think that's also a difference in the newer generation and the older generation, if I can use that term, as far as I don't think they're even doing it because they recognize that that music is part of them or who they are. They're just doing it to make a dollar or hope they make a dollar.
Yeah, I'm sure. Look, I'm sure some of them are doing it in hopes of making a dollar or making money. I think some of them do it just for because they want attention or they want clout, as they say. And I don't think it's anything really wrong with that, as long as you know that that's just what you're doing. So therefore, you don't build yourself up for disappointment if certain things don't happen. And I think a lot of people out there nowadays, they get caught up in listening to a lot of people on social media, YouTube, because you got to remember in music, it's always the two E's, it's exposure and exploitation. And in music, you have to balance that because everybody, if you're going to make it in music, you have to be exploited at some point because you need exposure.
Yeah.
They both come together. The hard part is trying to find that fine line between not becoming totally exploited and yet getting exposure. Like you take a Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is a fortunate individual, okay? A lot of people hate on Taylor Swift, because the behind the business scenes that people don't talk about and think about. Where did Taylor Swift come from? Most people don't even ask that question because that's due to brilliant marketing of her as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really ask that question. You don't pay attention to it. But she comes from a very wealthy situation. And a lot of people have been upset about that, oh, Taylor Swift, she has a silver spoon in her mouth and her daddy this and he bought part of the company that she signed to and this and that. All I can say is good for her.
But that doesn't take away from the fact that she's very talented. She
Absolutely.
is not only a performer, she is a songwriter.
Absolutely.
And she runs her business.
Absolutely.
And if she couldn't sing, a silver spoon has nothing to do with that.
Absolutely, at the end of the day. Now, she did get an opportunity.
Yes.
Because they did have money. And let's be honest, she did get an opportunity because she is white.
Yes, but if she was not talented.
Yeah, but she has talent.
Right.
And her color doesn't have anything to do with it. But I have to acknowledge that. Because people say, well, she's white too. I agree with you.
But that's no different than Willow Smith. Willow Smith has an amazing voice.
Yeah. Yes.
However, her parents had money to get her started.
Absolutely. Same thing. And to be able to balance that exploitation and exposure and mostly pay for the exposure that a lot of other people have to get exploited to get the exposure.
Yes.
To make yourself a household name if you're lucky, if you're fortunate, to be able to sell out tickets to crowds and stuff. So,
and that applies to every situation, not just music, because even if you take people who have went viral on social media or whatever, whether they're selling a product or they're selling themselves, at the end of the day, that whole exposure exploitation applies because they also had to have some kind of money to pay for the marketing so that they could go viral. If you're talking about like Instagram, somebody selling out in a product in 24 hours or whatever, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, it's all marketing. Somebody got to sell out. Somebody got to be paid for something to be done. It's no different than back in the day in the 50s. It was payola where you had to pay to get your records played. And even though, payola supposedly went away, it never really went away. They just basically invented the program director at the radio stations. The program director, blah, 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 so-and-so FM or whatever. They just painted over it. So a few people went to jail. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into all of that, the names of people that went to jail over that stuff. You can look that stuff up for yourself. But people went to jail over it. People took the fall for it. But the business of music continued on after that. And they basically cleaned it up, put a program director in, and you come in and if you bring in a song to terrestrial radio, and that's like a radio that you just get with a regular antenna, for those of you that don't know. If you just get a regular antenna type radio, terrestrial radio, you breaking a record, you ain't got 200 grand, 250 grand, you ain't doing nothing. Like it used to be back in the day where you could at least go to college radio. You had college radio and you could go get stuff played on the college campus and stuff and then kind of break a record that way. That was during late 80s and then into the 90s. You could do that. That stuff is gone. Like you got to go to a program director, and you got to go in there with a budget of at least $250,000. They're
But
saying,
that's still a marketing budget, even
well,
though it's,
yeah,
you
but
know,
but it's still pay for play.
right.
Like you can have a great record, and you might luck up and know somebody's uncle who's a DJ, and he might play it at the end of his show or play it in the background or something like that. But you got to pay for that airplay, and then even your streaming services. A lot of people are like, oh, this is hot, and like they'll say like Kendrick Lamar, he's killing Drake and this and that. But the truth of the matter is, what people don't understand is that you can, when it comes to streaming services, you can work out a deal where I'll take less royalties for my streaming. I'll take less payment of my collective royalties for the first 3 months if you push my stuff more.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking at it like, okay, the song is hot, so we get to push it, and we don't have to pay the artist. The artist is letting us play it for free. So we're gonna play it for free for 3 months because he wants to try to get it hyped. That's just the way things work. Like you're always like people need to just accept that that's just the business. You don't make the business. You're trying to get into the business. But you can't come in thinking like, oh, I want to do this and I'm going to do this. No, it's not your business.
Yeah.
And you're trying to just get your foot in the door to get a few little crumbs that are around there. And if you're good enough to where you get big enough like a 50 Cent or a Drake or a Kendrick or a J. Cole, and you get your name that big, I'm just kind of name dropping some names so people to understand where I am coming from and what I am talking about. That's what you got to do. You still got to pay to play.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't run it, and you never going to run it because it's not yours.
Yeah. I think that part, what you just said, is no different than someone saying that they're going to go to a company and apply for a job and hope that they get hired. That's the analogy that...
It's the same thing. You don't go to
Yeah.
McDonald's and say, I'm going to change the way the Big Mac is made.
Right.
I'm going to go to Burger King, I'm going to change the way the Whopper is made, the way they make the shakes. I'm going to shake this company up. No, you're not.
Right.
You're just coming there to work. And if you're fortunate enough to get there, you're there to try to make as much money as you can while you're there and come out of this landing on your feet without having been exploited, or as Cat Williams say, keep your virginity
Now,
about yourself.
I also feel like, with that in mind, that you should, before you try to get into a business or a job or whatever, we're talking about music specifically right now, but you need to ask yourself why you want to do it. Because if you get in there and it's not the way that you want or what you expected it to be, you really need to figure out why you want to do it in the first place before you even start, because it's more than likely it's never going to be what you think it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever anything with people. It's never going to be that. It's like there might be one shining moment, one span in your career where it's like, oh, this is like my dream come true.
Yeah.
If you're fortunate enough to get to that, enjoy that moment, because it's not going to last for long, and it's going to become straight business after that. Once the fun ends, it's straight business. You got booking engagements. You got, like, if you booked up a whole year, you need to make those engagements. You can't just be like, oh, I feel sick and I don't feel like going to work today. I feel depressed today.
Because that's what you signed up for.
That's what you signed up for. That's what you took all that upfront money for. That's why you're getting these endorsements and different things. So you owe people, and then you get a team of people depending on you to pay their rent, pay their car note, pay the babysitter, kids' college tuition and different things. That's kind of like, what's that girl, Brandy? Same thing.
Yeah.
Like when she was doing her show, she stuck around longer. She wanted to, she's like, man, I'm tired of this BS. I'm ready to leave this crap. But she stayed because she got to know the cameraman, the lightman, and everybody that was working on the set of Moesha. And she's like, I can't just break camp. This man just said he's sending his kid off to college. I got to stick it out another at least 2 years, help him out. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you could go roundabout and you can discuss music and the business of music days on end. I think the most important thing that people should remember is, like you said, why are you doing it? Why do you really want to? If you really love entertaining people and getting before people and different things like that, you should go for it. A second thing I would say, always keep your day gig. Never give up your day gig. Until you are for certain that you are rock solid in what you want to do, you never give up your day gig, or you never give up your side hustle. Whatever that might be, keep your side hustle. Number two, try to learn as much about the business end of the business you're getting in. Make sure you find out about publishing. Make sure you understand there's two sides to publishing. Make sure you understand the difference between a sound recording and a composition. It's not a lot of things to really core things that you really need to get into it, but to maintain yourself in it, you definitely need to educate yourself and read up on as much stuff as you can, because that's the only thing that's going to help you in the long run and keep you from being overly exploited.
Yeah.
You know, I say that like that because for the most part, people that people see and you love, entertainers and different things, a lot of those people have made big sacrifices personally to be where they are, whether it be giving up relationships, whether it be having relationships with people that you might not want to have relationships with. And what's the girl going around, everybody saying she was crazy? What's the girl they were saying? She's Jaguar Wright.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody say, oh, she crazy, this and that. I feel some of the stuff she's saying is kind of suspect a little bit. Some of it sounds like payback, some of it. But the majority of what that woman is saying is true.
You really think so?
Hell yes.
So how do you think she knows so much about so many different people?
Listen, in the entertainment industry, people know people that know people. Because everybody's being exploited. Look, everybody's being exploited. At what level are you being exploited?
Yeah.
What did you have to do? What you have to do to get that deal? They ain't gonna say it on camera.
Yeah.
They gonna smile. They ain't gonna complain about it. But a lot of the stuff you heard about that they said Diddy did, Sean Combs did, more than likely 99.99% of it is probably true. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why I can safely say that. And I don't know that for a fact, but I think you could pretty much say it, because you have to look at the connections of people. Who was he connected to? Who was he connected to? Who? Clive Davis. See, this generation has no clue. And that's why I say a lot of younger people, they need to learn to show more respect to people like me. Instead of joking about, oh my God, you was alive during the 70s. Yeah, I was. That lets you know how much I know.
Yeah.
That I seen. That I, like the gossip that, like people that gossip people here, you know, the internet, guess what? I heard it from the streets. So when stuff was hitting the streets, you knew that stuff wasn't about no rumors. It's like, damn, that's what happened? Damn, that's what happened to so-and-so? Yeah. Like, you can go, like, there's stuff about Motown that they'll never say. Like, Motown's great and everybody loves Motown. Smokey, love them. Temptations, everybody. But y'all, hey man, there was a lot of funky stuff that went down in Motown, man. Look, why you think the Jacksons got up out of there and went to CBS? If they look like, Motown, do you think Michael Jackson you would think he would have stayed, right? Like,
Yeah.
people don't never ask themselves that. Like, well, Michael's on CBS Records. Well, why did they have to beg him to come back and do Motown 33 and the third? Remember they did the special?
I remember Motown 25.
And most of the young
I remember.
generation, they don't know nothing about Motown, the 33 and the third generation year thing.
Yeah.
They don't know nothing about it. But why do you think it was they had to like beg Michael, like, Michael, please, Michael, would you please come back and please, you and your brothers? Like, he was the hottest thing on earth and he started at Motown. Motown had Michael.
Yeah.
Think about that. And because of disagreements and other things, he left. Him and his brothers left. Jermaine had to stay.
Because he was married to the girl.
He was married to Berry Gordy's daughter.
Yeah.
Because he had ambitions of, oh, I'll marry the daughter. I ain't going to say that. But I kind of feel, I've seen Jermaine. And over the years. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm from that generation. And Jermaine always struck me as like, oh, I'm gonna just marry the princess and I'm gonna become the king. That's what I kind of feel. That's my personal opinion. Jermaine might tell you otherwise. I don't know, but that's how I feel about it. That's what I always felt. Yo.
Well, let's leave it there.
All right. No, I want to leave it on. I want to say one more thing to
You
people.
want to say one more
I
thing?
want to say one more thing about a lot of young people, especially young people on the internet. I hear them saying, well, why won't the old heads get on here and do their music and this and that, and blah, blah, blah? It's because we understand that that's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to just be giving away your intellectual property, which is what you create with your music. You're not supposed to just be giving it away to these companies. All of these internet companies like SoundCloud, Spotify, all these companies, DistroKid, TuneCore, all of these different companies, you're being exploited. That's the fact. They tell you, don't you want to get your music on the streaming service? You're wasting your time. What I see most young people doing that they're making the biggest mistake is that they're not using the internet, whether it be YouTube, whether it be TikTok or whatever. You're not using it to draw people to come see you play somewhere and to sell your goods.
Yeah.
That's all YouTube, that's all it's really good for.
Yeah.
This generation has become disconnected from each other to the point to where they think they're supposed to do everything. I'm a stream and this and that. No. If you have 1,000 people following you, then put it to the test.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna be performing this music you see me do here. I'm gonna be performing down at the corner bar.
Because social media is a marketing platform.
Absolutely, that's all it is. And people that are expecting to get paid, oh, I want to get paid. Stop. Just stop wasting your time. Stop putting all your music out here for free. Because it's oversaturated with free. Nobody's buying anything. I can't tell you when the last time I bought a record. I can't tell you the last time I paid for a download. Everything is streamed. So the only way you're going to generate money is to get an act, get serious, get an act, or get with somebody that is a performer that is serious. Put your music with that person. It goes back to the old days. People got to start coming back together. Producers, writers, choreographers, all these things that MCs, people that are good at talking to the audience and putting on a show. At some point in time, entertainment has to go back to the beginning, almost like back to the days of vaudeville.
It's a community.
Yeah, it's a community, and it's right now, it's dispersed. Nobody's working together. Agents, entertainers, promoters,
Yeah.
club owners. You know, you got places where they shutting the doors down of all these different venues and different things because people have forgotten how much fun it is and how enjoyable it can be.
Yeah.
To dress up, go watch somebody perform, and hear live music or live entertainment.
And be in the room with like-minded people.
Like-minded people. Yeah, we
Yeah.
all dig this cat. We all down.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? And that's what is wrong with the music industry and entertainment industry.
That's what's wrong with a lot of industries is that
Yeah.
people have lost the sight of community.
Yeah. They don't know, like this generation, they don't know nothing about it. Like I watch them and believe me, young people, there's tons of people my age that make great music. But we understand the business and we know like you don't do like the stuff that you're doing, we don't do that kind of stuff.
And there's a reason why.
It's a reason why. Somebody telling you that every time your song is streamed, you get less than you get 0.003 pennies of a cent. I don't even know how you even pronounce that. But the fact that you get so little and you don't stop to think to yourself, well, somebody would have to listen to me like a 1,000 times the same song on repeat in a month for me to get $2.50 or $3 or $4. Like, stop and think about that. But think about on the back end of it, how many people are paying subscriptions?
Yeah.
Every month to have Spotify, to have Tidal. you're being exploited. That's why I say in the music industry, exploitation is a big part of music. And then to swing back to the whole Taylor Swift thing, to kind of wrap that up in a bow, what she managed to do is beat the system because of the position her father was in. She managed to beat the system. She even beat the system to the point to where she went back and re-recorded her own songs so that she would have the sound recorded. Because you got to understand, in publishing, yeah, she owned the composition, but she didn't own the sound recording. Okay. The record label owned the sound recording. So she even went back and beat them in that. And she went on a tour for 2 years and made all this money on the road. So I applaud her. I love it when I see people get in the industry and win. And Taylor has definitely done that. Now I know some Beehive people, oh, Beyonce. Beyonce is trying. She's trying to beat it, but you see how they treated her with her country and western album. You saw how the country music people treated her. They didn't treat her right. Yeah. They didn't treat her right. So she getting there. She trying.
Okay, and let's end it there.
Okay, so to everybody out there, maybe one day I will go ahead and at my wife's suggestion, I will go ahead and start my my own channel where I would give information and whatnot. So, yeah.
Where are you?
Right here. Oh. You got it the wrong way. You have to edit this out. You have to edit all that out.
Okay.
You know you have to edit all that out.
I'm gonna edit the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But if you want to turn it back to front facing
you,
you can't press a button.
No.
Oh, well, here, I'll do it this way. You come over here. I'll hold this.
Okay.
And you come and get in the picture.